Alright, you lot. Time to clean up some serious nonsense floating around gaming world. Yeah, I had a different video planned, but bollocks to that, because this rumour needed debunking. We got some muppet on Twitter, Mr. I Know People himself, spreading doom and gloom about XDefiant being dead. Spoiler alert, it's all crap. But before we dive into this steaming pile of internet stupidity, the usual, like, subscribe and all that bollocks, it helps channel grow. And let's face it, I deserve it. Right, let's get to it. Right, let's get into circus or idiocy, shall we? So rumours started with one Shaun some game developer who knows people. Yeah, the I've got sources routine. Now let me stop you right there, because I've never heard of this bloke until today. That should be your first red flag. Some random tweet from a guy who probably couldn't code his way out of a wet paper bag, suddenly everyone's acting like Nostradamus has predicted death for XDefiant. He claims, and I quote, XDefiant is already dead. Not in trouble, not having a bad day, no, dead. Mate, that's like declaring yourself bankrupt because you dropped a fiver. Bit melodramatic, don't you think? Anyone who's actually played game lately knows it's far from dead. In fact, last time I checked, my lobbies were full, and I wasn't playing against AI bots, unlike Shaun's intellect. Then he goes on to mention Ubisoft's research team having another in-house test session. Oh, scandalous. You mean game devs are testing the game? The shock! The horror! What a revelation! Let me tell you, in-house testing is standard for any live service game, especially one as ambitious as XDefiant. This is Ubisoft, not your mate's dodgy mobile game. Of course they're going to keep testing and tweaking it. It's called improving game, Shaun. But apparently he's too busy doom-scrolling Twitter to understand that. Now, Shaun mentions testers repeating feedback, like that's some grand revelation. Look, pal, repeating feedback is what they're supposed to do. It's not some secret behind closed doors Illuminati-level conspiracy. When there's a bug that players report but devs can't replicate it, well, they need to go back and figure out what the hell is causing it. That means running game through its paces again and again until the pinpoint issue. And that's how games get better, Shaun. But clearly you missed that memo in Game Development 101. Think about it. If you're constantly whining about bugs and glitches, how do you expect them to fix it if they don't investigate them properly? You think they just wave a magic wand and poof, all your problems disappear? Nah, mate. These devs are busting their asses to give you a smoother experience. In fact, that they're still testing and taking feedback is a damn good sign they care about community and game's future. But here's where it gets really good. Webber's claimed that Ubisoft might pull the plug after Season 4 if they can't get enough players. Ah, sure, because ending support for a game with thousands of active players is exactly what big publishers love to do. Mate, this ain't your nan's knitting club, it's Ubisoft. They don't just fold because someone on Twitter says player base might not hit some magical number. They know where these multiple sources there is. Oh, right, they're too scared to lose the jobs to say out on record. How convenient. They've got less credibility than COD lobby full of 12-year-olds hyped on Mountain Dew. Because no one says trustworthy information like vague, nameless insiders who are too afraid to speak up but totally spilt beans to our mate Shaun here. I'm sure they handed him a scroll with a wax seal while whispering, "Tell no one, but the game is doomed." Absolute bollocks. Let's break it down. If these so-called sources were genuinely worried about losing their jobs, why the hell are they leaking info to a guy who can't spell already correctly in his tweet? Logic doesn't add up, does it? If Ubisoft were really on verge of pulling plug, don't you think we'd be seeing something a bit more credible than a poorly written tweet from some random Twitter X account? These sources are probably about as real as Shaun's game development credentials. And then there's big one. If they can't get enough players. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Every live service game relies on active player base. But here's kicker. XDefiant does have enough players. Shaun's acting like servers are tumbleweeds and crickets. But that's just not the case. You got daily active players and consistent flow of matches. And people coming back for every new season. Player counts dip and rise like clockwork. But that's nature of these games. It's not impending apocalypse every time numbers fluctuate. Remember when Tom Henderson said game would be dead after Season 3? Yeah, that's not happening. And now suddenly it's Season 4 that's magic cut off. These rumours are like bad horror sequels. They just keep shifting goalposts. First it was Season 3, now it's Season 4, next it'll be Season 10. What's next, Shaun? Is Ubisoft going to shut down game cause you stubbed your toe while playing? Honestly, logic in these rumours is about as solid as a wet paper bag. Now let's talk numbers, because Shaun and his mates seem to think that player count in XDefiant is in freefall, like it's some kind of Titanic heading for iceberg. Spoiler alert, it's not. In fact, player base is a lot more alive than these doommongers want you to believe. And don't just take my word for it, let's look at what actual research shows. Nero Cinema did a great breakdown in a recent video, and guess what? He crunched numbers like a maths teacher on caffeine. Turns out XDefiant has an estimated 100,000 daily players. Yeah, daily. Not weekly, not monthly, daily. That's a pretty healthy number in any game, especially one that's still carving out space in very competitive shooter market. This were around start of Season 2, mind you, when all that shiny content dropped and brought players back in droves. So I thought, this shows game's got legs, and people are showing up to play. Now, I don't know about you, but 100,000 daily players don't exactly seem dead game to me. And before you ask, no, those numbers aren't including bots or Shaun's imaginary friends from Twitter. These are real, breathing players, getting stuck in matches, sweating out in ranked, or just messing around in casual. And sure, numbers will dip and rise. It's natural ebb and flow at live service games. But core player base is there, and it's sticking around. You see, games like XDefiant aren't your typical annual cash cow releases where player count spikes for a week after launch and then drops off a cliff faster than Shaun's credibility. This game's meant to build over time, evolve, and keep players engaged with new seasons, updates, and content. So when these Twitter prophets of doom come out and claim games on live support, just remember, they've probably spent more time writing clickbait tweets than actually playing bloody game. Now here's where real fun begins. CoD Killer Myth. This has to be the most idiotic labels ever slapped on a game, and it's half the reason XDefiant gets so much hate. Some brain-dead clown somewhere decided to call XDefiant CoD Killer, and now every CoD fanboy with an internet connection thinks they're in a turf war. Spoiler, they're not. Let's get one thing straight. XDefiant were never meant to kill Call of Duty. It's like expecting your local pub quiz team to take on Manchester United. They're not even playing the same game. CoD is a multi-billion-dollar juggernaut that's been around since dinosaurs roamed Earth. Well, 2003, but close enough. It's got an entrenched fanbase who would defend that franchise like it's a holy relic. No matter how many times they rage about skill-based matchmaking or whatever this week's outrage is. XDefiant, on the other hand, is doing its own thing. It's not trying to be next Call of Duty. And it doesn't need to be. It's offering an alternative. It's fast, it's fun, and most importantly, it's fresh. Ubisoft has taken elements that work from other games, mixed them together with its own flair, and delivered something different in a market saturated with hyper-realistic military shooters. That's what makes XDefiant stand out, not because it's trying to dethrone CoD, but because it's providing something CoD can't. Freedom from same old, same old. But of course, the moment someone slaps CoD Killer on it, entire toxic CoD fanbase feels personally attacked like Ubisoft kicked the dog or something. They start nitpicking every little thing about XDefiant, matchmaking, netcode, hit registration, as if Call of Duty itself into an absolute dumpster fire at times. About 99% of complaints about XDefiant come from people who haven't even touched game. They see one streamer rant about something, jump on 8train, and suddenly it's a cool thing to bash XDefiant. Let's make it crystal clear. XDefiant isn't here to kill CoD. It's here to offer a different experience. So if you're looking for something refreshing, something that don't have you grinding same boring kill streaks for 100th time, give XDefiant a shot. Stop worrying about what's better, enjoy what's fun for you. Now let's have a chat about absolute cesspool that is social media, because that's where most of this anti-XDefiant noise comes from. Twitter, X, or whatever hell Elon's calling it this week, it's like a breeding ground for knee-jerk reactions and outrage-filled rants from people who probably haven't touched grass in months, let alone played game they're moaning about. Here's how it works. One person, let's call him Mr. Keyboard Warrior, sees a single tweet about a minor bug or an issue in XDefiant. Now, instead of calmly assessing the situation like a rational human being, they hit retweet faster than a COD kid accusing someone of hacking. Suddenly, this tiny molehill or a bug turns into a mountain of XDefiant's broken, Ubisoft don't care, and my personal favourite, game's dead. It's like watching a bunch of toddlers play telephone, where original message gets twisted and exaggerated beyond all recognition. And let's be real, most of these clowns jumping on 8 bandwagon have never even played game. They see one YouTuber or streamer moaning about matchmaking or hit registration and they're instantly experts on everything wrong with XDefiant. It's hilarious, really. They've got all these opinions based on 30-second clip of someone else's bad game. It's like reviewing a movie after just watching trailer. Absolute brain rot. But it's true, and I know this is gonna be a tough pill for some of you to swallow. Social media's not reality. Shocking, I know. Complaints you see on Twitter or Reddit are a fraction at player base. And often the loudest, angriest voices in room. Majority of players? They're out there playing game, having fun and not giving a toss about what some random says on X. Every game has its issues. Every game has its bugs. And XDefiant's no different. But problems are nowhere near as bad as Doom and Gloom Brigade would have you believe. Haters want you to think XDefiant is a sinking ship, but guess what? It's not. Devs are working on game, actively patching issues, improving things and listening to player feedback. Meanwhile, social media critics are just recycling the same tired complaints like a broken record. It's easier to shout about how terrible something is than actually gear to go and see what's good about it. But that's social media for you. Loud, obnoxious, and about as reliable as Shaun Webber's sources. Alright, listen up. Matt Rubin, man himself, just dropped a truth bomb on Twitter. To be crystal clear, straight from source, there are no plans to shut down XDefiant after Season 4. None. Zip. Nada. Matt literally said he's been in meetings last week to discuss plans for Year 2. So for all those panic merchants spreading the doom and gloom, congratulations, you've just been fact-checked by Ed on Joe. Rubin made it clear that dev team is laser focused on improving technical side of things. Yeah, that includes netcode you've been moaning about and packing more content into Seasons 3 and 4. Short player numbers are down, but it's not cost games on live support. It's cost them been holding off on major marketing to get team time to make game rock solid before they do a big push to bring back players. So there you have it, direct from Mark Rubin's mouth. XDefiant's not going anywhere. Real question is, are you sticking around for the ride? So my advice? Don't listen to noise. If you want to know if game's worth playing, pick up controller and find out for yourself. Forget hate, forget hype, just play the damn game. Now before you go anywhere, smash that like button, like really get a wallop, and hit subscribe, because I know you're dying for more of my glorious content. Leave your comments and questions below, and if they're good, I might feature them in the next video. I want to hear your thoughts, whether you're Team XDefiant or still holding on COD like it's your comfort blanket. And hey, if you're still on fence about XDefiant, do yourself a favour. Jump in. You won't regret it. I'll see you next time, you magnificent.